So our topic in one word will be the notion called in Hebrew Emunah, faith, or Emunah actually, you'll see later. That there is some slight difference between Emunah and the translation to English. How do you translate Emunah to English? Few options. Faith, belief, and trust. That's the three things, right? So all of them are actually part of what Emunah is. Emunah is something much bigger, and I want to speak about this tonight. We'll see how this thing will go here, because I could present this class or this shiur in different levels. We'll see what will work to you. I'll try to verify it. Okay. First, the notion Emunah in Hebrew is completely wrong among the understanding of many people. Jews and non-Jews, people who are more in Torah or out of Torah. What would be the definition of Emunah? And I want to hear some suggestions from you. What do you think? What Emunah is? What is the definition of Emunah? And in order to do it really thorough analysis, let me present the question in the following way. Emunah. When we use the word Emunah in Hebrew and in English, in everyday conversation also, not in philosophical, theological term. Like we mention the word I believe, or I trust, or right? So what actually we mean when we say we believe, or we trust, or we have faith? The question will be the following. Imagine someone, I put next to the word faith this notion: rationality, knowledge. So imagine someone standing in front of a group of people and telling something about any experience that they have. And this person will say about something to his friends, her friends, I know that it's so and so. The same person, few sentences later, about something else, will say, I believe that it's so and so. Or in Hebrew, you will say about one, he or she will say about something, ani ma'amin, ani ma'amina b'mashu, and then they will say about something else, ani yodea, ani yodat, I know, right? Assuming that this person chose the words, and about something he said or she said, ani ma'amin, and about other things, they say, ani yodea, right? What would be the difference? What would be the definition of knowledge versus belief? What do you think?
Can be proven.
First of all, are they identified? If not, what will be the difference between to know and to believe? Yeah.
I think the choice of words will come more naturally to choose knowledge when you feel like you can present facts or you're sure of the facts, as opposed to belief, where it's a personal conviction of a truth, but it's an opinion. It's not necessarily something you can prove.
So what would be the difference? Why? I mean, as a rational people, right? If I say about something that I know, so I know, I have facts, I analyze the facts, I have proofs. So the certainty is very high, right? That's about those kind of things I will say I know. About other things, I will say I believe, and if it's not the same, my question is, if it's not based on facts, you could not prove it, why do you believe in it?
You accept it?
Why? Is it rational to accept something that you could not prove?
Yes.
Of course.
It is.
Yeah, because
You know what? Let's make it clear. We're talking now about everyday conversation. I'm not talking about God, about Torah, about any theological term. In the everyday conversation, when we say about something that I believe, As a rational person, is it right to believe in something that you do not have proof to it?
Yes.
And if so, why?
As babies, we believe before we know, because we believe, your imagination sets in first before anything else. So I think it's like an innate quality that humans have. Like you believe and then you learn.
Okay, but the difference between babies and matured people is the
Yeah, but that's
is
just
the experience.
That's
Wait.
just the way we're made up.
Okay, I'm talking to mature people and I'm asking, as a rational person, is it right to believe in something that you do not have proofs and it doesn't based on facts?
Yes.
But belief is what brought proof. Somebody believed that we can get someone onto the moon, and they worked on it and they got someone to the moon. Someone like the Wright brothers, they believed they can get an airplane, and they worked towards it.
That's
They
very
believed
very
it.
good thing that you're mentioning. Let me clarify it. Some people misuse the word belief. Some people think, or instead of using the word I hope, or someone will say, you know what, the economy situation gonna be good, gonna be better. How do you know? I don't know, I hope. So some people will use the word belief, but it's not the right word. It's not the right term.
Could it be like a gut feeling, maybe? Sometimes you use the word believe when, like I personally use it if I know partially something to be true, but I'm not going to make a definite statement because I haven't gotten all my facts lined up.
You just feel it.
I have a gut feeling
I
that
see.
like I'm more than 50% sure. That's when I would use like believe.
Okay. Yeah.
So I use belief when, like I said before, when I have a strong conviction towards something, and even if I can't prove it, it is true to me. So
How?
it's so how it is. It's kind of like love. It's I know I love someone without being able to prove it, but I know
We should
how
prove
it
it.
feels. So there is that sense of right. You can always say that the love is not proven or it's not factual, but it's something that I know for myself that is true. So there is something.
But
to fake.
loves
There's
are
something to
feelings,
fake.
right? Loves
What?
are feelings.
No, I don't think that love is feeling.
What
I
is
think
love?
love is a choice. You can feel love, but love is a choice. It's kind of like faith. Faith is a choice. I choose to believe. It's not something that is like.
This is exactly the thing that I want to verify. Why do you believe when you believe?
It's a choice. I choose to believe.
Okay.
It's 100% a conscious thing, meaning that I wake up in the morning and I choose to believe in God, even if I have a faith issue.
But it might be wrong.
It could be wrong.
Could be
it's
wrong.
Still a choice. Yeah.
Okay. So if it could be wrong, and we are rational people, is it responsible to believe in something that you do not have proof to?
Yes, because there's a lot that we know that we don't know.
Yes.
We're not just operating in the world of knowledge. We're operating in a world of understanding that there's a lot beyond our understanding and a lot beyond our knowledge that still exists.
And we might be wrong,
We
right?
might be right or we might
It's
be
a
wrong.
50-50, so
No,
or
something
would you
that doesn't
prefer to
make
be
different
50%
chances.
right at the end of the day or 50% wrong? So if we live our life believing and knowing that there's something greater, and at the end of your life you realize that you were wrong, so what? You had a fulfilling life.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
if at the end but then if you do the 50% of there's nothing more than me, and you live your life carelessly this way without a belief, and you're wrong, then you missed out on your life.
Yeah. Okay. That's the.
You know.
Yeah, because if you cannot prove something
Uh-huh.
right or wrong, right, then you, like Salid is saying, if you're taking a 50% chance, no matter which way.
Yeah. It's a
But
business
it's not
way.
a binary thing, a 0 or 1.
Business term. It's worth to do it this way.
Everything is 50-50.
Okay. Okay.
It's a big
Now
spectrum.
let's continue. Let's go one step further. If I want to verify a fact, if I summarize what actually you mentioned over here, I think if I understood you correctly, you're saying that believe is something that belongs to the feelings versus knowledge that belongs to the mind or to the logic. Different opinions. I mean, so it could be that it's two different things. It comes from two different sources, right? Now, if I want to verify a fact, let's say there is a room above this room, in the same size, and I have a question to you. There is a table in the center of the floor above, of the yes or no. I could accept 3 answers. Yes, no, or I don't know. What will not be accepted? I believe. Even though people use this, I believe, right? But if it's a fact, if someone will say yes, I'll say, how do you know? I just were there. I saw the table. There is a table upstairs. If someone will say no, I'll say, how do you know? Again, you'll say, I was there. Nothing, it's empty. If someone will say maybe, that's also accepted. You know what, maybe yes, maybe not. I have no X's there, or I'm too lazy to go. That's fine. What you could not say, if believe is feelings, so you could not say, I believe there is, or I do not believe there is, because it's not a matter of feelings. It's either there or not there. If there is a table and someone will say, I don't feel it, so don't. Your feelings will not make it or break it. If it's there, it's there. If there is nothing there, and someone will say, I believe there is, again, the feelings will not make it, right? So when we talk about facts, the term believe is completely out. It's not the right term. And yet, and here I'm going the step further that I want to get to. Let's talk about God. And I want to declare that the term that I heard, the sentence that I heard from so many people, you could say it's in the positive way or the negative way, has no sense at all. Did you ever heard someone say, I believe in God? Or I do not believe in God? What actually these people want to say? Someone will say, I believe in God. They actually said, there is such a thing. There is a creator who created this world, right? Now, if it's true, it's a fact. So we're talking about a fact. Fact, we agreed before that it's not, the way to verify facts are not feelings. Either you know it or you do not know it. Either there is or there is not. And the same thing when people say, I don't believe in God, meaning there is no God who created the world. It just happened randomly, all the theories, the Big Bang and etc. So here people use the wrong term. When people speak about God in terms of believe, they're doing the wrong thing. Because we do not see God. We do not see the creator. But we see the products, we see the universe, we see the reality. Yeah. So that we know for sure that exists. Now the question is how it's become to exist. There are only 2 options. Either randomly or on purpose. Someone, somehow, put it together. Right? Those are the 2 options. Only one of them is true. Right? There could not be both of them true. Only one of them is true. Now, the question is, what is the truth? And how do we verify truth? So people will say, you know what, but there is a problem over here. Even if there is God, no one could see it. Right? Because it's not like a table that's upstairs. Then you could go see or not see. Oh, here's another mistake. The mistake is that anything that I could not see or sense with one or more of my senses, I could not know that this thing exists, yes or not. It's not true. It's not true. The 5 senses are very good in order to connect us to physical things. But if we talk about even physical things that are too small or too far in order to identify them with our sight, let's say, right? We need a microscope to see viruses or to see microbes, right? We need to improve our limits of sight, of normal sight, by telescope, microscope, and etc. So, first of all, we have to define what is knowledge. Knowledge is something that I could know, but I have to know that my ability to know is limited. My ability, I could know, I could verify limited stuff that I could locate, right? But let's say the gravity. Do we know or we do believe that there is a gravity, a force of gravity?
No.
We know. Let me tell you, no one ever met this force. Shake its head, its hand, right? Because how do we know it? How do we know it? We know it because of the consequences of it, not because we actually meet the thing itself, the actual thing, right? So when we talk about God as a cause, in philosophy, God called the first cause, the cause of everything to exist. We could verify, not with our senses, but with our logic, how complicated system like the universe could exist or could function randomly. Is that statistically make sense, yes or no? So here are tools, logical tools, to verify facts that not necessarily you could see or feel with your senses, and it's valid because many other things we could not verify with our senses, but we could get to the conclusion based on our logic, right? Okay. And here I want to put the thing on the table. You have to know that in Judaism, there is no mitzvah to believe in God. It might be a surprise for many people.
There's a mitzvah to know God.
Okay, now I'm talking about belief. There is 613 commandments in the Torah. You know that? The 613 number? I went through it more than once or twice, or even more than that, looking for a mitzvah to believe in God. No such a thing. There is no mitzvah to believe in God. There is a mitzvah that's just the opposite of it, almost. And this is it. There is a verse over here in Sefer Dvarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 39. We sang this verse, this pasuk, every time that we pray in Aleinu Leshabeach. This is a quote from Deuteronomy. Look what the pasuk says. You have the translation over here. I'll read the original in Hebrew. וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך כי השם הוא האלוקים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. It speaks about God, the existence of God that is unique and exclusive, no such thing. And because the topic over here is God, I could assume that the first word over here will be Vehe'emanta. You should believe. But that's not what's written over here. It's written over here, Veyadata. You should know. You shall know. So you have to know that you have to know. You have to know that you have to know that there is God. If you thought that there is a good Jewish just by believing God, sorry to inform you, you're wrong. You didn't even start if you do not know. Now, if God, who created us and created our ability to think, and He knows what we could and we could not know, and He commands us to know, it means that there are ways to know, not to believe. Because God, as a creator of the universe, it's a fact. It's a fact that the universe exists. So, the next question, logically, we should ask ourselves how it began to exist. Either by a creator who created it, or randomly. So the first verse in the Torah started with a declaration that there is a creation, right? You know the first verse in the Tanakh. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth, or created the universe, right? So this is the declaration. For sure, this is the opinion of the Tanakh, that there is a creator who created the universe. Now, if it's a fact, and this is the way the universe began to exist, the question is, how could we know? But the Torah commands us to know. Where did the Torah command us to know? Aside from this verse. And here we come to something that many people know, but I don't know if you really think about it in the way I'm going to present it. Everyone in this room heard about the Ten Commandments, right? Not even in this room. You know, every person over here, you know, go to the streets, ask non-Jews also. They heard about the Ten Commandments. The first commandment, the Ten Commandments, is very difficult to understand. Once I have a debate, a friendly debate with Christian scholars. It was really a friendly discussion, friendly conversation. And they mentioned the Ten Commandments, and I said to them, wait a second. You as Christians believe in the Ten Commandments, right? They say, yeah, of course, every Christian should believe in the Ten Commandments, in the 10 famous commandments. So I asked them, will you explain to me the first one? What is the first commandment? The first commandment is, hey, where is it? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, right? So I asked them, could you explain to me, first of all, what's a mitzvah over here and how it's connected to any Christian? Because what it says, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm God, who took you, Asher hotzaticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeit avadim, that I took you out from Egypt, the house of slavery. So, the Christians ever were in slavery in Egypt? Never, right? So how it obligated every Christian to believe in this? They never were there. We are the only one who were there, and Hashem took us, God took us out of Egypt. So it's exclusively talking to Jews, not to Christians. But even to Jews, what is the meaning of this? What is the commandment over here? Anochi Hashem, it seems like, you know, a business card. God wants to present himself to us. You know, I'm going to command you to do this and this. But before, let me tell you who am I. So I'm God who took you out of Egypt. So what is the mitzvah over here? It seems like a declaration that God says who he is. What is the mitzvah? And here look up on the Rambam. You heard about Maimonides? Maimonides, Rambam, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Maimon, he put the entire Torah to the law book called Mishneh Torah LaRambam. This is the first halakha in his book of knowledge, Ilchot Yesodei Torah, the foundation of the Torah, and this is the first halakha. I'll read it in Hebrew and try to translate it. יסוד היסודות ועמוד החוכמות, לידע שיש שם מצוי ראשון, the foundation of the foundations, of all foundations, and the pillar of wisdom, to know that there exists a first cause, namely God, that everything that you find in the universe exists because he wanted to exist. He created it, right? So this is the halakha that says that you have to know. Again, he used the word to know. Leida, not to believe, but to know. To know. And Rambam continued, this is halakha Aleph, right? The first halakha. If you go on in the same chapter, in the halakha Bet, Gimel and Daled, second, third, fourth, and fifth, he speaks about the implication of this thing. And then in halakha Vav, he says the following. וידיעת דבר זה מצוות עשה. To know this, it's a mitzvah. What's the mitzvah? שנאמר אנוכי השם אלוקיך. And you refer over here to the first commandment in the 10 commandments. Meaning, we have a mitzvah, an obligation to know that there is God. This is the first commandment in the 10 commandments. Now, the question is how? How could we know? How could we know? And here, let's see what the Ramban, Nachmanides, Rabbeinu Moshe ben Nachman, in his comment on the Torah about Anochi Hashem Elokecha, he says the following. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, in Parashat Yitro, בספר שמות, הדיבור הזה מצוות עשה. This is a positive commandment. יורה ויצווה אותם, אמר אנוכי השם, he said, I'm Hashem, יורה ויצווה אותם, commanding and instructing them, שידעו ויאמינו שיש השם. That they will know and believe. And here's a very interesting thing. Nachmanides mentioned both notions. Knowledge and belief. And be aware of the order. First to know and then to believe. Be aware of the fact that there are two different things, and that's what I want to explain. But we have to know and have to believe that there is Hashem and He is their God. Now, here I'll explain it not inside the text to understand what he said. And that what connected it to the Parashiyot HaShavua that we just started last Shabbat, started Sefer Shmot, right? Sefer Shmot, when the Jews were in Egypt and they were slaves, and then Parashat Va'era, Bo, are the Parashiyot that Hashem took them out, the 10 plagues mentioned in Parashat Va'era and in Parashat Bo. Now, let me tell you just out of the text. When Moshe Rabbeinu came first to Paro and told him that God sent him, and he asked him to ask Paro to send the Jews out of Egypt, right? So it says that Moshe and Aaron came to Paro and says to them, Hashem Elohei Ha'ivrim nikra aleinu, and He sent us to you in order for you to send the Jews out of Egypt. What was the response of Paro, the king of Egypt, to this request or to this demand? He says the following: Lo yadati et Hashem. Mi Hashem asher ashma b'kolo. Who is God that I'm going to listen to him? Lo yadati et Hashem v'gam et Yisrael lo asholach. I do not know him. That's what he said, right? So what was the response of Moshe to this? I'll say it in my words, not in the words of the Torah. He said, okay, if you do not know, it's just a matter of lack of knowledge, it could be fixed. You do not know, I'll teach you. And I give him 10 classes. Dam, Tzfardeh, Kinim, he gave him the 10 plagues. And he learned slowly but surely that Moshe Rabbeinu speaks in the name of God. Right? And that's what happened actually in the 10 plagues. But here I want to just analyze few of them in order to make the things that are relevant to us. The first class was the blood class. Remember it? He told them, you are not going to send them out, all the water is going to turn to blood. And he didn't, and the water turned to blood. Okay? So what Moshe actually tried to say? Listen, I'm serious. You better be serious and relate to this, because if not, I'm going to ruin your kingdom. You know, without water, people will not really could exist. The water will turn to blood. And he didn't listen. And the water turned to blood. Did Paro was impressed by this? No. No. What was the response of Paro to this? He told them, listen, this is your proof. Come on. I could do it too. And he called out a few of his magicians, and he told them, show him that you could do the same. And they did. They take water and turned it to blood. Big deal. So the Medrash says on the spot that Paro says to Moshe and Aaron, you are very not good businessmen. A good businessman take merchandise from a place that they are very common, take them to a place that they are very rare, and make a lot of money of them. You trying to impress me by doing magic? Egypt is the center of magic in the world. So you playing magic, I could do the same. So it's not a proof. You are not talking in the name of the creator of the universe, because my magicians are not the messenger of God, and they could do the same. So the first class seems to be really not going anywhere, right? So because of that, you need another class, another session. What was the next session? The frog. If you go and look at the Torah, you will see. You will not send them. Frogs will be all over, anywhere, any place. In your rooms, in your closets, everywhere. He didn't get impressed, and he refused. Okay, the frogs came. what was the response of Paro? Same thing. He called his magicians, and the Torah says that they did exactly the same. So what's going on over here? It's a ping pong of who is a better magician. It seems so. So at this point, Paro was sure that Moshe and Aaron are just plain magic over here. Then come session number 3. Session number 3, if you remember, was the lice. The lice, right? Here, it was a turning point. What happened? Moshe and Aaron hit the ground, and the dust became lice. Paro called his magicians. He told them to do the same. They tried, and they could not do it. Velo yacholu. They could not do it. At this point, it was a turning point for them, for the magicians themselves. They turned to Paro and told Paro, listen, take them seriously. This is not magic. There's nothing in magic that we could not do. And if they could do this and we could not do this, it's not magic. And if you remember, they mentioned the words, Etzba Elokimi. This is the finger of God. That was the magician told Paro. This is a finger of God. This is not magic. If it was magic, we could do it the same. The fact that we could not do it, it's not magic. We are the top professional magician ever. At this point, those guys, those magicians of Paro, understood that Moshe coming from a different place. And by the way, they start to admire him. Because you know, when you are professional in something, you think you are on the top of the world. But if you find that there is someone that is more professional from you, wow, you start to admire them. And that's what happened to them. They become the admirers of Moshe, and in a way that caused us a lot of problems later on. You know why? Because when the Jews, after the 10th plague, went out of Egypt, those magicians, after they saw from the lice and up what Moshe doing, and that they could not do it, he became for them the guru. He is wow. So when they left Egypt, they asked him, listen, we are not going to stay here. We want to come with you. And they were the heads, that's what the Zohar says, they were the heads of the Erev Rav. The many non-Jews who went with the Jews out of Egypt. And they were the ones who caused the golden calf sin later on. Because they admire Moshe. When Moshe disappeared, and he was there for 40 days and he didn't come back, they said, so what's the point of us to be here? We need some leader. We went after Moshe because he was a leader, right? Now he is not there. So we need a leader. And they came to Aaron and said, Kum aseh lanu Elohim, ki ze Moshe ha'ish lo yadanu me'aya lo. We do not know what happened to Moshe, so we need something in substitute. And then they did the golden calf. That's what the Zohar says. But we are much, much earlier now. We are now in Egypt, in the 3rd plague, and they understood that Moshe Rabbeinu is not another magician. Okay? Paro was stubborn. And he wasn't convinced. So the 3rd plague came, the 4th plague came, the 5th, until the 10th. At the 10th, he knew. I mean, he was stubborn, but at the end, the entire kingdom just collapsed. And then the firstborn got killed, and then he sent them out, right? Now, let's leave Paro aside. One of the plague were Makat Dever. Makat Dever was the killing of the animals, right? Makat Dever. So Moshe Rabbeinu told Paro in advance, listen, you're not going to send them out. All the animals, the Egyptians' animal will die. But only the Egyptians. The Jews' animals will stay alive. Paro refused. The plague came, and the Torah says that Kol Miknei Mitzrayim died. All the Egyptian animals died. Just to understand, we have a donkey of an officer, a donkey or a horse of a Egyptian officer who was on top of the Jews, the slaves, right? He was riding his horse or his donkey. The donkey died. Next to this donkey were other donkeys of the Jews that were slaves. The donkey was alive, right? So, what could you say about this? Magic? If it was a virus could know who's the owner of the animal? So that was a clear proof. And it says that Moshe Rabbeinu told them in advance, no one animal from the Jews will die. And he didn't listen. And after the plague came, it says, the Torah says that he checked it out. And he found out that Mimiknei Israel lo met echad. And with it, he was stubborn and refused. But as I said before, let's put him away, aside. The Jews that were there, they saw it in their eyes. They saw it, right? How could you explain this? Remember, we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu who claimed that I am here as a messenger of God who created the universe, right? Only the creator of the universe, only the creator of nature and the laws of nature could control the natures the way he wants. Moshe Rabbeinu as a human being could not do it. So therefore it was clear that Moshe Rabbeinu is not presenting his power, but the power of God. And here let's go down in the history. After the 10 plagues, they went out of Egypt, after they saw in their eyes all the 10 plagues. It was a darkness, right? ולכל בני ישראל היה אור במושבותם. For 3 days, it was complete dark, pitch dark for the Egyptians, but at the same time, the Jews has light. They saw it in their life, in their eyes. And then the firstborn were killed, all of them, but not the Jews. They went out of Egypt. 50 days after the 10th plague, they stood in the Mount Sinai. And God is talking to them. And God saying to them, Anochi Hashem Elokecha asher hotzaticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibet avadim. I am God who took you out of Egypt. They knew or they believed that it's God speaking to them. Of course they knew because, again, Moshe Rabbeinu could not do anything with his own power. Only the creator of the universe who put together the laws of nature could control them. So it was clear to them that not Moshe took them out of Egypt, but God. Moshe was just the messenger. Not Moshe split the sea and they went in dry land and all the Egyptians drowned. So we're talking about those people who experienced and saw those things in their eyes, right? Now God talked to them and says, and here we come back to the Ramban, Anochi Hashem Elokecha. I am God who took you out of Egypt. So he says over here that this commandment, Yoreh v'yitzaveh otam sheyed'u ve'ya'aminu sheyesh Hashem v'hu Elokim lehem. They should know and believe. Now, he mentioned Yetziat Mitzrayim, asher hotzaticha, כמו שאמר לאל בעבור תדע. And that's why it says, אשר הוצאתיך מארץ מצרים, כי הם היודעים ועדים בכל אלה. Those people who stand there, they were the witnesses. They saw in their eyes. Therefore, they know what's going on. Because if Hashem wants to just present himself, it's very nice that he took us out of Egypt. He made a lot of miracles, fine. But God could present himself differently. He could say, I am God who created the universe. Isn't it bigger? I created everything. Why he didn't say that? Why he said, Asher hotzaticha me'eretz Mitzrayim? Because the commandment here is to know. It's a demand for us to know. If he will say, I'm God who created the world, who were there at the 6th day of the creation to see God creating the world? No one, right? So it will be a belief without being able to prove it. But when he speaks about take you out of Egypt, you were in Egypt. You knew what it takes to take you out of Egypt. So therefore, because I want you to know, not just to believe, therefore, He used the fact that he took us out of Egypt. And actually, this is the answer. People ask today, how could we know? How could we know that there is God? You have to know that God created the world. Usually there are something called laws of nature. And the laws of nature running the show. Running the show. This is the mode that Hashem put the world to function, to work on. But because He put together the laws of nature, He could change them the way He wants. Usually He's not doing this. But in the history, once it was public for a whole year. It says in the Medrash that the Mishnah says that the 10 plagues in Egypt was happening during 12 months. It was 12 months that the entire world, you know what, the big superpower at the time was Egypt, and the Jews were in Egypt. So all the Egyptians and all the Jews, at least, it was more than that, it was spread all over. About the split of the sea, for example, it says that 40 years after it happened, when Yoshua sent the spies to spy Yericho, if you remember, in the beginning of Sefer Yoshua, Rachav told them, Gam shamanu asher hovish Hashem et mei yam suf mipnechem. Meaning 40 years after, it was still known in Canaan that Hashem split the sea. So it got spread all over the world. Now, for 1 year, Hashem did a very clear miracles, which is not the regular way of the world functioning. And usually He's not doing this way. Usually the world functioning by the laws of nature, and the laws of nature are running the shows. But for 1 year, in order to prove to the Jews and to the world that Hashem hu Elokim, that God, He is the creator, He did the 10 plagues of Egypt. Therefore, many of our mitzvahs that we're doing are Zecher L'Yitziat Mitzrayim, for the memory of Yitziat Mitzrayim. Why it's so important to remember it? Because this is the proof that there is God. And there is supervision of God. And we passing it from generation to generation, and not just from generation to generation. One of the mitzvahs that we do every few days, you're all familiar with this, is Kiddush. Just a second. We're doing Shabbat. In Shabbat, right? Friday night, all the Jews all over the world gathering together for a family dinner, a festive family dinner, right? Before they start the meal, the head of the family, the older person of the family, take a cup of wine and says Kiddush. Next Shabbat, just listen to what we sang in the Kiddush. What we sang? Why are we doing this? We sanctify this day. What's so special about this day? Why are we doing this? Zecher L'Yitziat Mitzrayim. We're saying this. It's Zecher, saying it in the Kiddush. Every Jew saying it all over the world during the entire history. If you just think about it, you know what is this? It's a testimony that we're passing to the next generation every week. Every week since it happened. When Jews started to do it. You know, imagine, it's all stories, it never happened. So who convinced Jews to start to just do this? For a memory of event that never happened. We're doing Pesach every year. Leila Seder, right? Why in this night? Because this is the night that in the middle of this night, Hashem killed all the firstborns of the Egyptians and they let us go. All Jews doing this every year, all over the world, for more than 3,300 years. Can you imagine this testimony passing? And that's not the only mitzvot. Many mitzvot in the Torah. We're sitting in the Sukkah, Zecher L'Yitziat Mitzrayim. We're doing tzitzit, Zecher L'Yitziat Mitzrayim. We're doing a lot of things, Zecher L'Yitziat Mitzrayim. So, the question is, how could we know? How could we know today? Because today, obvious, real, or obvious miracles are very rare. Even though if you look carefully, you could find one amazing miracle. That everyone who is honest and just look at it, he will see God only through this fact. You know what this miracle? This miracle is, it's very obvious miracle if you analyze it. It's called, in 3 words, Am Yisrael Chai. The fact that there is a nation called Israel, I'm not talking about Israel state, the Jewish nation exists. This is the biggest obvious miracle in the world history. Because all the reasons are there for the Jews to vanish. All the reason. This is so obvious. There is no nation in the world who get exile from their land and still exist after 1 or 2 or 3 generations. Many nations in the world, got conquered and exiled. What happened to them after 3, 4 generations? They vanished. Take America of today. 250 years ago was no United States of America over here. 500 years ago, it was Indians over here, right? So where this nation came from? It was immigrants that come from all over the world. And until now, people still coming from all over the world. So the first generation are immigrators, right? What happened to the second generation, third generation, fourth generation? They become American. We're talking about 4 generations, which is 100 years, 120 years. And that's what happened all over the world. When a nation got to exile, they mixed in the people that they came into. We're talking about 3,300 years of existence of the Jewish nation, and we have no land most of the time. The vast majority of the time we have no land. We were all over the world, and yet we exist as a nation. This is miracle. And this is not the only thing. Take into account anti-Semitism. Take into account pogroms and killing of Jews during the history. Take into account losing Jewish identity among Jews, like happening today in America. They lost their identity. They just marry goyim and finish. And yet, this is the fact, there is a Jewish nation. This is an unbelievable hashgacha. But without God protecting us as a nation, we will never exist. But the obvious miracles were there in a very short time when the entire world were aware of them. And those proves the existence of God. There are more proofs. If you look at the universe today, you look at the laws of nature, once people do not really know how complicated is the world, and they could think or develop a theory, it's randomly happened by itself. But today, when we learn and we do research, we see it's so complicated, there is statistically no way that these things just function by themselves randomly. So, if you need proofs, there are enough proofs. But we have to know that the bottom line, we have to know that there is God. To know. The question is, what room left for the notion belief? Because, as we said, there is a mitzvah to know. If there is a mitzvah to know, so it's knowledge. Knowledge, we said, it's based on facts. It's based on ability to prove it, right? So the level of certainty of knowledge is very high. It seems that the word believe has room only, the term believe has room only when you do not have enough proofs. But if you're obligated to know, and you could know, after you know what, it seems ridiculous. It's like saying, I know that the table is here. I know because I see it, I could feel it, right? I know that this table is here and I believe in it too. No, it looks funny, right? What do you mean you believe in it too? After you know...
Is it that you know
Yeah.
that we have a God, we know, and we believe in his powers to this world?
Why would
so
you live?
I can say, I know there's a God, but it's a God. Or I know that there's a God and He's making this world turn. Like you believe in His powers.
You do
You
not
can't
believe, you
really
know.
see it.
You know.
No, you know there is a God.
You know also that the power.
I don't know. I don't see it.
How do you know that there is God? Because you see the complexity of the whole universe, right?
Right.
So you know the
So
complexity,
I
the
believe
complexity.
that the God's
Not just
powers
exist. It's not just
made
exist.
it
That He is,
happen.
that without Him, this thing could not function, could not exist.
But that's something you believe.
No, that's something that you know. It's part of the knowledge.
But what about, so yes, there's God, right? But then there's also the concept of, is He engaged in our everyday lives? Or is He more of a hands-off God, right? So He created the world, and is He just looking, sitting back and looking? Or is He actively engaged in what's happening and cares about what's going on?
Now, how do we know again about God? We know about God because of the Exodus. And not just about Exodus. Exodus is one historical event. But don't forget that right after the Exodus, after the redemption from Egypt, God revealed Himself to us and gave us the Torah. This is what happened in Ma'amad al-Sinai, right? So in Ma'amad al-Sinai, when Hashem revealed Himself, He gave us instructions, right? It means that He cares about what's going on over here. He gave us instruction, what's right, what's wrong, what to do, what not to do, right? And that's also part of the obligation to verify by knowledge. It's not belongs to the belief. The belief is something else. The rest of the time now, I try to, in short, relate to what belief is after the knowledge. To know and to believe. First you have to know. If you do not know, you just blind. After you know what beliefs adding or what is the meaning of to believe after you know. That's the thing that I want to relate now in a few minutes. Yeah.
I'm wondering if there is a command to know, why isn't God creating the opportunity for knowledge over and over again? Why does it have to refer back to a specific point in history, like the Exodus from Egypt, where our knowledge or our tools to rely on it for knowledge are not very solid? Like, for me, to rely on that as a source of fact is very difficult, because I have to be able to trust that the passage of the knowledge was correct up to the point that it arrived by me. And so the knowledge
It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult.
For me has doubt, possibly because of my tools, possibly it's because of my limitations, but for me, the knowledge is limited. So I do defer to faith as part of concluding my belief in God. So I don't rely truly on knowledge. I can't say I truly know for fact that everything that happened.
Okay, let's differentiate between what you're holding now, but to what you should. Okay, we're talking.
Right. But the real question is, why doesn't God reveal Himself to us now to allow us to substantiate that knowledge? Because, why do we have to defer back to that point in history?
It's not just. I told you about the fact that the Jewish nation exists. It's not just that. But when God commands us to know, and He creates a system of what to know. Now you ask, okay, I have better suggestion. People will say, sorry that I'll say it cynically, people will say, you know what, it's very nice that it happened then, but I want to see it today, now. I want God to split the water in my bathtub. Then I will be convinced. Right? The question is if a demand like this is fair. And let me tell you a story that I heard years ago. I like the story. And I think this is a very good answer to this question. The story is about a very, very talented young girl that at a very early age, she was just an amazing player of piano. She was, a very Yaldat Pele. How do you say that? Miracle or not? A wonder child. So she knew really play piano in a very professional way. And of course, that was the pride of her parents. So her father was so proud of her. And she was 8 years old or something, and she won prizes, international prizes. So because she was young and her father was very proud, when guests came to him, friends or something, he always speaks about his talented daughter. So she was in the house, and her parents were with their friends or visitors who came, and they were sitting in the living room, and the conversation came to that their daughter, they were proud that their daughter is so talented. So she was a young kid, so she was running in the house from place to place. So those guests called her and said, "We heard from your father that you are so good in playing piano. Could you play for us?" So because she was in the beginning so young and willing, okay, see. So she played a little bit, and they got impressed, and she got compliments. But after it's happening again and again and again and again and again, and every time she has to prove to them, she got fed up with this. So after they left, she approaches her father and says, "Listen, enough is enough. I cannot do it anymore. I'm tired to prove myself to those people. But it's not nice. Are you proud of me? I understand this. I have a suggestion. Let's take the document that I got. I got a nice document that proves this, that, איך אומרים תעודה? קיבלתי תעודה. I got a certificate, a certificate of honor. Let's take the certificate, put it in a frame, put it in the living room, and every time that those guys will come, tell them whatever you want to tell them, and if they want proof, they should go to the certificate. I don't have to prove it again to everyone who just wants." So, seems fair, right? And this is the mashal. The nimshal, the parable is, God is not proving himself in every generation to any denier. He did it, and that's enough. What he did is enough, and he put it in a document, the document called the Torah, and anyone who wants, just go read the document, read the certificate.
But he's commending the knowledge.
Exactly. Commending the knowledge. The knowledge could be done in two ways. He did things, he created the universe, and he wrote a book. If you want to know someone that you never met, you could either know him, the creator or the artist, through analyzing the piece of art or read the book about it. And he left for us those two things. We could do it. Just become scientists, an honest one. Learn how complicated the laws of nature are, and you will know that it could not be random. Go to the book, read the book. Look at the Jewish nation. You could see the truth. This is enough. If you do not want to do it, or you are lazy to do it, so get over it and don't be lazy and learn, and you will know. You will know. God is not in a place or a position that he need to prove himself again and again in every generation to everyone. So the proof is there. You could get it. Actually, I'm a lecturer of Arachim, in Arachim doing seminars all over the world for intelligent people, for smart, intelligent, knowledgeable people. And we logically, through the world, through science, and through the Torah, analyzing the text, the meaning, the message in the Torah, we could prove logically that God is there. Okay, so that could be done. Let's just few words about the notion belief or Emunah. Emunah is not what many people think. And it's not what you think. Emunah is something else. It's something much bigger. Actually, I don't see now that we have time to really learn this completely, but I'll give the outline. If you will be interested, we could do it in the next class. Let's just learn something about the word Emunah. What is Emunah? In Hebrew, every word has a root. The root are three letters, always, right? The root of the word Emunah are the letters Aleph, Mem, and Nun. And I'm not talking about the word Amen, but the letters as a root, Aleph, Mem, and Nun. If you take this root means that it's like a tree, that there is a trunk, branches, and leaves, right? If you want to understand the leaf, you have to go all the way to the trunk, but you have to go even deeper to get to the root, to the source, the shorish, right? So the root of the word Emunah are the letter Aleph, Mem, and Nun. Now, the way for us to understand what Emunah is, really what Emunah is not belief, and it's not trust, and it's not faith. It's not, because those notions are used by other religions. And they use it wrong, not in the right way. When Christian says belief, they mean blind faith. Blind faith meaning just accept it, don't ask questions. That's so wrong. It's not true. There is no such a thing. It's anti-rational. What do you mean? What do you mean don't ask questions? Why? I want to know. If it's true, talk to me. Prove it to me. Don't run away, but don't ask questions. Just accept it. So no rational person could accept it. Same way by Islam. Just accept it. Don't ask questions. All religions demand those from their believers. There is only one religion who could not ask this from their believers. You know why? Because Jews are not believers. זה משהו אחר לגמרי. אני אסביר עוד מעט. Jews are not believers. Jews, you could sell merchandise to anyone in the world. If you have a good rhetoric way, you could sell it to everyone. But try to sell it to a Jew. He will ask you 200 questions before he will do anything. You cannot just stop them from thinking or from criticizing. And it's valid. Why not? Why not? If it's true, you want to tell me something, I want to really be convinced that it's true.
We have the 13 anima means that we go.
What is the meaning of this? This is the entire topic. Anima amin is not blind faith. No such a thing by Jews. No such a thing. The first Jew was Gentile. You know that? Who was the first Jew? Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu. You know the history, the background of Avraham Avinu? Avraham Avinu was born as a Gentile. And his parents were idol worshippers. And all the society around him were idol worshippers. Avraham was born and raised to believe in this kind of source, and this kind of source, and he heard all of them. And he himself got to the conclusion by himself, without any teacher, that it doesn't make any sense. So he heard things, criticized them in his mind, got to the conclusion that it doesn't make any sense, and he himself got to the conclusion that should be only one power, that above all powers, and this way he discovered God and published it and made the amazing revolution that any one person ever made. And we inherit that from him. We do not believe to anyone. If someone tell me something, before I get it, before I accept it, I have the right and I use my right to ask all the relevant questions, and it's completely fair and completely right. Judaism, as we said, do not ask us to believe that there is God. You have to know. So after you know what left for belief, and what is Naseh v'Nishma, what all of this, and here's the understanding of the word Aleph Mem Nun. Aleph Mem Nun is not blind faith. Aleph Mem Nun is something much bigger. Here's the key. If you want to understand a real notion, the understanding of the meaning of real notion in any notion in Hebrew, in the holy language, in the language of the Tanakh, verify the root. The key is have 4 steps. This is step number 1. Verify the root. And this is the root. Aleph Mem Nun. Step number 2. Take this root and take as many derivatives that comes from the same root in Hebrew. if it comes from the same root, meaning they belong to the same source, to the same root, right? So let's do it. Let's take few derivatives that come from the same root, aleph, mem, and nun. I will write down over here 5 of them. The first one is aminut. What is aminut in Hebrew? Reliability. Reliable. Number 2 is ne'emanut. Faithfulness. Come from the same root, aleph, mem, and nun. Aleph, mem, and nun. Number 3 is imun, training or exercising. Come from the same root. Number 4, omanut, art. Come from the same root, aleph, mem, and nun. And omenet. Omenet, this is not, the translation over here is wrong, is not right. Omenet is not a nanny. Nanny is very limited project, to keep the baby quiet until the parents will come back from their fun. Okay? This is not what omenet is. Omenet, in English, the closest definition that I heard is foster mother. Foster mother or foster father. Somebody who is
Nurturer.
more than that. It's not just physical. It's developer of the personality of the person. This is what omenet is. Okay? Now, here, 5 derivatives, there are more, but that's enough if we'll cover this. 5 derivatives come from the same root, aleph, mem, and nun. Now, this is step number 2 out of the 4. Number 1, verify the root. Number 2, gather together derivatives that came from the same root. Number 3, define each one of them. As accurate as you can. Each one of them. And when you put together all the definition, you will find an amazing picture of understanding the deep meaning of each one of the derivatives. So here we have 6. We want to know what emunah is, right? The root is aleph, mem, and nun, and here are the derivatives. Now let's define each one of them in brief. What is reliability? What will be the definition of reliability? When you speak about someone and say, he is reliable, she is reliable, this company is reliable, there is a condition that without it, it will never be reliable. What is the condition?
Trustworthiness.
Only after being tested. This is the condition. Without being, they promise you a lot of things. If they could not prove it again and again, tested again and again and again, then they got their reputation, their reliability, right?
So 0 chance of error or failure.
What?
It's reliable if there's 0% of failure, like it's 100% functional.
Yeah. That, but the main thing is it should be tested. So, because reliability or aminut come from the root aleph, mem, and nun, it shows that real emunah is first be sure that it's reliable. So the first thing about real solid emunah, it must prove itself true. Must prove it. And here we come to the question, if it's proved, it's become knowledge. So how it's connected to belief, to emunah? And here comes derivative number 2. What is the condition? What's the definition of someone being faithful, loyal? Again, we need a condition. If reliability comes only after being tested, what will be the condition of proving faithfulness? Loyalty in the face of temptation. Meaning, if you take a young couple that just got married, put them on isolated island, and leave them there for 10 years, and come back and see, oh, they're still together. That's nice, but is that prove loyalty or faithfulness? If they all alone there? No. There is no, what is the test? There's no alternative, right? If will be an alternative, will be a temptation, the biggest the temptation is, the strong you should be in order to push it aside because you're loyal, because you're faithful, that shows your loyalty, right? So ne'emanut is loyalty in face of temptation. And actually, this is exactly the secret of real emunah. The first thing about emunah, you should be sure that it's true. Test it. It's reliable. After you know it, now comes the problem. I know this is true. Now, am I faithful to what I know? And you have to know that it's very human. It's not justifying it, but it's very human. We could know for sure, not just about Torah or about God. This is the way a human being functioning. Human being could be sure 100% in something, and yet in their action do just the opposite. I could prove it from many things. One of them is smoking. Take a heavy smoker, but he is updated, rational, love life, and not stupid. No one could deny that smoking is dangerous to your health, right? So ask a rational, happy person who loves life, why do you smoke? What will be the honest answer? You know what? You're right. I should quit. You know how many times I decided to quit already? You do not have to convince me. I know it. So if you know it, why you do not do it? And then they will give you a bunch of excuses. Right now I'm under stress. Everyone around me is smoking. When I'll get married, when I'll get divorced, when I'll move, when I'll do this, when I'll do that. What's the common denominator? Nonsense. And actually what they say, you know what? My mind telling me quit now. But my mind is not the only decision maker in my life. I have habits, I have peer pressure, I have a lot of stuff that works against what I know. And usually I'm doing not what I know. So you know what Emunah is? To be faithful to what you know. This is Emunah. And therefore Emunah comes only...
Is that a fair example? Because that's an addiction.
Uh-huh.
Is that a fair example?
Yes, because we are addicted to so many things that we do not even aware of. About smoking, they made a whole big deal about it, so everyone knows that is an addiction. But to be addicted to your bad attributes, that's addiction.
I think it's a weakness.
Okay, it's the same thing.
But it's something that you...
It's the same thing. People, what I want to show is one thing. You could be sure 100% in your mind what's right, and yet do just the opposite. And this is the test of Emunah. Emunah is after you know. If you have doubts, you're completely blind. You do not know. After you know, no doubts that there is God, He gave us the Torah, and this is the right way of life. After you know that, here come your challenge in life. How much you stick to it, how much you faithful to what you know. Therefore, Emunah comes only after the knowledge. After you know, now you have to work on yourself. That will be no contradiction between what you know over here to what you do over here.
Is that related to the word discipline and nanny at all? Because it seems like...
Yes, all of them are connected. Look at this. Let's, in brief, do it. If you want more details about this, we could do a whole session by itself because now it's become a little bit late. But it's all connected. First of all, this is the order. First, you have to know. Test it. Ask all the relevant questions. Get all the relevant answer. Be sure. After you're sure, you have to know. You convince this part. Now you have this one. The heart. The emotions. And this is true. That Emunah is connecting what you know here. Remember the first pasuk that I showed? Let's see it again. The first pasuk in the Torah that I show over here. V'yadata hayom. Where are you know? Here. V'hashevota el levavecha, which is here. We have two tools to relate to the world around us. The mind and the emotions. The heart is the engine. The mind is the GPS. Imagine you have a car, you have a GPS, right? You have a strong motor to this car. This is the last word. It's an engine of an airplane. You are a very good driver. You have GPS, you know exactly where to go. Okay, You open the car. You sit in the driver's seat. You start the engine. You heard the screaming like an airplane engine. This car just loves or wants to drive, right? So you push the gas. The engine's screaming even more, but the car is not moving. You look and surprisingly, well, something wrong over here. What's wrong? They forgot to connect the engine to the wheel. You know, the transmission is missing or not connected. This is a problem. The mind, the engine is the heart. The mind is the philosophy to verify that this is true. What do you have to do? To connect the engine to what you know. Connect the engine. This is Emunah. Emunah is the transmission. The connection between the engine to the mind. This is Emunah. You have to be faithful. You have to go where your mind lead you after you verify the truth, and take all your power, all your habits, everything, and put them as tools in order to let you drive. This is not easy. This is actually the challenge of each one of us in life. First, God give us sechel, give us ability to think. You have to know that the sechel is not just a present. It's a responsibility. You got it, use it. Use it. So we got the sechel. We know. We have the ability to know. After you know, only after you know, now your responsibility of your life is to take this and let it lead you in life. And this is Emunah. How do you do it? So you should strive to be faithful. But it's not coming just like this. You need to train yourself. Again and again and again. In the beginning it will be very hard. But you do it again and again and again, then you'll be a champion. Emun, what is this training? Is take the potential that you know and actualize it. Right? This is the training. This is the Emun. The result will be a piece of art. You just create yourself.
Or could it be also you have to be creative in ways to improve and adjust?
Right? It's creativity, and the result will be a piece of art, because over here you take an abstract idea of how I should look like and actualize it. Put it into tangibility. And then actually what you're doing is not what the artists do. You know, the artist could take a piece of stone, made out of it a picture or a statue of something that look exactly like a crying child or a smiling child, right? But it still will be a stone. As David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Einayim lehem velo yiru. They have eyes, but they could not see. Oznayim lehem velo yishma'u. They have ears, but they could not hear. But when a foster mother take a kid, a real kid, and developed, you know what's the job of the real foster mother? Create harmonious and precise balance of many various forces of the body and the soul, which is not easy. You have to be very smart, very devoted in order to do it. So all of them are connected. Emunah is all of this, starting from verifying that this is the truth, understanding that you should be living up to it, doing it by doing it again and again and again and again, and the result will be this. But Emunah is one thing above all of this. Because the best foster mother will devote her life to tell others what to do. Emunah is demanding from me to do it, not others. This is Emunah. So in one word, we have to know this is it. When we say Ani ma'amin be'emunah shlema, be aware of those two words, Emunah shlema. What's Emunah shlema? What's the opposite of Emunah shlema? Emunah tfeilah. Shalem is a complete. What is not complete? When you have the belief, but we have no backup to it, no rational backup to it. We believe not in blind faith, but in Emunah shlema, after the knowledge. Therefore, in Judaism, we have we need to be in a complete faith, which is emet ve'emunah. First it should be emet. And then the emunah is coming after this. And this is what we could cover today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As I said, I recorded this lecture and I'm going to put it on my website. I have over there around 320 classes. Most of them are in Hebrew, but about 80 of them or so are in English, my English. So you could see this in those websites. This is my website on YouTube. Very recommended to just go there here in your free time and
I have a quick question for that, where it said that that we are demanded to, that's the Rambam quote, where it says we're commanded to have knowledge and belief. The belief piece, what part of the total Emunah, law that you listed relates to the belief? Is that the faithfulness of
yes, yes. From all of those, the definition of emunah is this: loyalty in face of temptation. After you know, you have so many temptation around not to do what you know. In many areas. Every honest, reasonable person will agree with you that you could not hurt other people. Not just by physical hurts. In words, right? Don't speak Lashon Hara. You know it. But the temptation is there, always. And it's constant work to keep your level and go higher and higher and higher. This is Judaism in 1 foot. That's what you have to do. Just first know the truth, then work on yourself. That will be no contradiction between what you know and how do you really running your life. By the way, the Naaseh v'Nishma is the same story to you. The Naaseh v'Nishma to him. Okay. The Naaseh v'Nishma, when the Jews says Naaseh v'Nishma, after they saw the 10 plagues in Egypt, they crossed so they knew. When you have a doctor, when Chas v'Shalom you have a medical when someone has any medical problem, right, and you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, do this and this and this and this, and some of the things are very hard. So many people will say, you know what, how do I know that it's true? Because the doctor says, so what? I could say, you know what, I want the doctor to prove to me that it's true. So the doctor says, okay, fine, all the proofs are there, go learn 15 years and you will know what I know. Now, people could not practically do this because sometimes their situation is they do not have 15 years if they do not listen. So they have to take it anyways. So why they do this? If I know that this doctor is reliable, and I know that many people in my situation, or even worse, came to him, and he gave them medicines, and most of them, or let's say all of them, or at least most of them, are still alive because of this, he become reliable. So when I say Naaseh, I'm not asking you a question, just tell me what to do. I'm not stupid. I'm saying it with responsibility. After I knew that he is the right one to listen to, because he's a professional, he has a reputation. That was the case over there. When the Jews says to Hashem, Naaseh v'Nishma, they didn't just buy, a cat in the sack. They knew that he is the one who created the world, he took them out of Egypt. They could not say anything else, but for sure, Naaseh. So what's the Nishma? The Nishma is, we're going to do it because we know that it's true. And the Nishma is, now I want to learn why this is true. But it's not a condition to do. I'll do anyways. But now Hashem commands us to learn the Torah to know why what he's saying is the right thing to do. This is the Nishma. But it's not blind, just accepting it.
Beautiful.
Also, I'm thinking the nanny portion, could that be, or all of these things, could, in addition to us working on ourselves, is it a way also reminding us that God is there, providing all those attributes for us? So we accept that he's there, but we also believe that he is providing all those things.
Right. We have to know that Judaism is not just to know that there is upstairs God. Judaism is to be God with you with every action. Because, God is the king, who melech malchei hamlachim, the king of kings, but with one difference. Every king will force his kingdom on the people. You cannot just say, I don't recognize you. Any king will not let this. A dictator, right? A dictator king. But God, because he is king, he is such a king that he let you accept him. If you accept him, good for you. If not, you will not miss anything from this but you. Meaning, to be a real Jew is to want to know, that's a whole thing, a big thing by itself that we have to learn one day. And you have to know that the difference between Judaism to what's called today in the world, humanism. You have to know they contradict each other. Humanism puts human in the center of the world. And everything is the servants. All the world around us is to serve us. This is humanism. Judaism is not like this. God is in the center. I am the servant of God, not God the servant of me, like in the other religions. I am the servant of God. So it's a whole complete different way to look at things. The notion Yirat Shamayim. Yirat Shamayim is, actually the Yirah comes from the word Re'iyah, Lir'ot. It's the same root, the same letters. Lir'ot, Lit Yirah, Yirah is awe, Ve'iyah is to be aware. Because it's not just a physical vision. When I say to something, do you see what I mean? You understand? I use the word you see. I'm not meaning the physical eyes, but the eyes of the brain, the eyes of the see. You see? So yir'ah, the more you aware, the more you in awe. And this is the yir'at shamayim. Shamayim is there, sham. It's far away from us, but we have to be aware of it. The more you are aware of it, you see the reality in the real way. Not in your imagination way. You're not living in a movie, in imagination. You see the real reality. The real reality is to see not just the creation, but the creator in the creation. And ask yourself what the purpose of all of this. And who am I? And what's the purpose of life and all of this. This is Judaism. All right. So, thank you very much for your attention. You're welcome. Yeah.